In the latest ESPN mock draft by Field Yates, there was a major surprise that has got everyone talking, especially Raiders fans. I think to end last season when we won those two games against the Jacksonville Jaguars and against the New Orleans Saints, from us falling from the number 1 overall pick to the number 6 overall pick, a lot of us, including myself, thought that more than likely we're going to be out of play when it comes to the top 2 quarterbacks, whether it be Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. But in this latest mock draft, he has Shedeur Sanders falling to the Raiders at the 6th overall position. So let's just break down this mock draft, see how it all played out, and talk about whether or not this could be a legitimate possibility for the Raiders in this year's offseason. So with the first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans, he had the Titans selecting Travis Hunter, a versatile two-way player that can play both the cornerback and wide receiver position. And this is interesting because the Titans are definitely a team that could use a quarterback, and a lot of people have been speculating that they would go for Cam Ward. But another thing is, the Tennessee Titans general manager recently said that they're looking for a generational talent in the draft and that they would not pass him up. So that's an interesting choice of words, because when I think of generational talent, I don't necessarily think of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. When you think about that, you kind of think of either like an Abdul Carter or even a Travis Hunter, who could make waves at the next level, especially if he can come close to the success he had at Colorado playing both ways. So in this scenario, he has the Titans not selecting a quarterback. They take Travis Hunter. To me, this definitely could be a possibility. Now, the second overall pick, the Cleveland Browns, they select edge rusher out of Penn State, Abdul Carter. And Abdul Carter is a prospect that has been gaining massive hype as a potential superstar pass rusher. And it seems very likely that he's going to be a top 3, top 4 draft pick. And with the recent news of Myles Garrett, defensive end of the Cleveland Browns, requesting a trade, this could help the Raiders, because now this could make sense for them to try to just go best player available, get an Abdul Carter, try to fulfill the void that they will most likely have if they trade away Myles Garrett. But Cleveland is also a team that could use a quarterback, and I think that's going to be the biggest wild card here to whether or not a quarterback will fall to the Raiders at 6. What do the Cleveland Browns do right here? But in a scenario like this, I would not be shocked if they go with the potential star edge rusher in Abdul Carter. Now the third pick, the New York Giants, they select a quarterback. At this point, they're going to select the consensus quarterback 1 and Cam Ward. And I think the New York Giants are definitely a team that no matter what, they are going to select a quarterback. But in this scenario, Cam Ward fell to them, so they're going to go ahead and select them. And the Giants have just been searching for a reliable quarterback ever since Eli Manning. So this move could definitely be the beginning of a new era for them. But I most definitely see them taking a quarterback. Now, with the 4th overall pick, Patriots, I think New England is the one team we can kind of look at early in the draft that they're not going to look at a quarterback. They have a young, talented guy in Drake May. I think they're going to do their best to protect their young asset, and that's what Field Yates has right here as well. They end up selecting LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell. To me, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Invest in the offensive line, protect your young quarterback. Now, with the 5th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, here he has them picking up defensive tackle Mason Graham to anchor their defensive line. Now, to me, this definitely could make sense as well. But I will say, with them having a new offensive-minded head coach in Liam Cohen, it will be interesting to see what his plans are for the quarterback spot. Does he keep Trevor Lawrence at least for one season, or do they plan on moving on from him? I'm definitely leaning towards the fact that they're just going to keep Trevor Lawrence at least for a season, see how that marriage works out between him and the new head coach and Liam Cohen. But out of all these picks, I think Jacksonville is kind of the hardest one to read. They could go in a lot of different directions, but I would not be shocked if they do not take a quarterback in this scenario. And then, of course, the Las Vegas Raiders at the number 6 overall pick. In this scenario, Shedeur Sanders surprisingly falls to us. And to me, if Shedeur Sanders is there at 6, you don't have to trade any draft capital to select him. To me, it's a no-brainer. You select Shedeur Sanders. And at this point, you're getting the best pure passer of the football in this year's draft. And it is a good scenario. You don't have to give up any draft capital. And this relationship, this pairing between Shedeur Sanders and the Raiders could be a match made in heaven. Shedeur Sanders has a unique connection through our minority owner, Tom Brady, who could provide invaluable mentorship. And I think a big part of a quarterback having success is just feeling the overall support from the front office and the coaching staff. And I think the Raiders, if they selected Shedeur in this scenario, they would fully embrace Shedeur as the future of the franchise and give him all the opportunities in the world to try to succeed. And that is super important, especially for the confidence of a young quarterback. Also, too, I would like the scenario of getting a young quarterback under the guidance of our offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly. With Chip Kelly, I'm confident in the play calling, and a guy like Shedeur Sanders could really thrive in his system. Chip's offensive system is known for its creativity, and it could be a perfect scenario for a young quarterback to walk into. I understand Shedeur Sanders is not the perfect prospect. I mean, athletically, there's nothing really elite about him, but when it comes to quarterback, it's all about how they can process the game, how they can make reads, how they can learn on the fly. Tom Brady spoke about this, that when it comes to the quarterback position, that's really what he's looking for most. Tom Brady was a guy that took the mental preparation and the in-game adjustments to a whole different level, and that's what made him the greatest quarterback of all time. With Shedeur Sanders, you're getting a quarterback that year in and year out has improved, and that's a huge thing for a young quarterback, because that's exactly what you're going to have to do in the NFL. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to evolve as a player. And you're going to have to continue to get better. And I think Shedeur, being a pass-first quarterback, he has good enough mobility. He can throw on the move. He's an accurate thrower of the football. Doesn't have the biggest arm, but to me, it's good enough to make all the throws that you need in the NFL. This would be a super interesting scenario, and I think it would be an ideal outcome if a guy like this fell to us. But I thought this mock draft was interesting because it shows that Shedeur Sanders falling in this draft, to me, is definitely a possibility, and it could be something that the Raiders watch out for this year in the draft. Now, as I said earlier, I think the biggest X factor in this whole mock draft scenario is what the Cleveland Browns do with the second overall pick. Because if they choose a quarterback, if they select Cam Ward, it's going to be very tough, in my opinion, for Shedeur Sanders to be on the board with the New York Giants pick at number 3. To me, I don't see the Giants passing on a quarterback, and if Shedeur Sanders is there, I think they are for sure making that pick. But if the Cleveland Browns opt for another position, if they take an Abdul Carter, if they don't select a quarterback at number 2, I think that's where things could get really interesting, and Shedeur Sanders could potentially fall down the board. So personally, I feel like this mock draft scenario isn't super far-fetched. It's a reminder of how unpredictable and exciting the NFL draft can be. Now, the only thing I will mention is in a scenario like this, the only thing that the Raiders may have to watch out for is if another team is willing to trade up at number 4 or number 5 to snag Shedeur Sanders, if they are impressed by him, if they like him as a quarterback and they see him begin to fall. Now, if that's the case, the Raiders could potentially lose out, but you could also potentially looking up at moving up 1 or 2 spots in the draft. I mean, to move up 1 spot, it shouldn't really cost a whole lot of draft capital. We may be able to just offer an extra pick, maybe one of our 3rd round picks. We got 2 this year to move up 1 spot. Worst case scenario, I think you'd offer a 2nd round pick, and that should be enough. But personally, I do like Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback. I just don't necessarily know if I love the idea of trading up to number 1 or number 2, where you're going to have to give up a lot more draft capital, future 1st round picks. I don't know if I like him that much where I'd move up, but if he falls, if he slides, and you can pick him up without having to give up any draft capital, to me, that's definitely a gamble I would take. To me, the kid has poise and swagger that I want to see in a quarterback. He is accurate throwing the football. He has gotten better every season in college. And to me, the spotlight would not be too big for a guy like this. As a college quarterback, he's had the spotlight, the media, everything for years now. So I think he could adapt well to the Raiders situation, and he would really embrace the hype and the excitement that would come to this franchise if he joined the Silver and Black. But definitely a very interesting mock draft scenario. I think there is a chance that Shedeur Sanders could fall, but as I mentioned earlier, keep an eye on what the Cleveland Browns do at number 2, because it will dictate the future of Shedeur Sanders and whether or not he may fall in the NFL draft. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below of this mock draft scenario, and ultimately let me know if Shedeur Sanders was there at number 6. Would you select Shedeur Sanders in this scenario? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.